Hello, everyone, and welcome to this conversation between Evelyn and myself, Emma Mentel. It's Thursday morning in South Africa, and we thought we would just introduce ourselves and why we thought this would be such a good idea and such a wonderful opportunity to share Evelyn's story on an event that we are planning, a conversation that will be on Zoom on the 1st of August. It will be in the evening, South African time, 7 to 8 p.m., but we will be sharing more details about that on our social media platforms. And if you want more information from us, you can always message us directly if you are on either my Instagram or YouTube or on Evelyn's, or if you know us personally. So for those of you who know me, I'm a functional medicine practitioner with a focus mainly on nutritional therapy, but also incorporating Scio sessions and energy healing and a holistic approach to health and well-being. So when I heard about Evelyn's story, I contacted her straight away because I felt that she would have such valuable information to share. And it's always so encouraging and inspirational for me to hear from people who've approached health or a scary diagnosis, perhaps, with a what is the word? Unconventional approach. So I'm going to just hand over to Evelyn just to introduce herself, and then we'll have a quick conversation just about the hows and the whats, and getting you all excited for our event on the 1st of August. Thank you, Evelyn.
Thank you, Emma, and thank you so much for inviting me to your platform today. And I'm really excited about the conversation we're going to have because I love telling my story. Because, to just have an amazing outcome is always a relief. When you are diagnosed with cancer, it's quite scary. And I did decide to take the alternative route. And that's what we're going to talk about. As far as what I do, I'm a stress management coach. And of course, because of my journey, I spend a lot more time now helping people who have been diagnosed with cancer and just hit that roller coaster ride with great speed and don't know how to cope mentally, really, keeping a positive mind. So that's my role of how I help, and I'm looking forward to sharing my story with you on the 1st of August.
I think, the health and well-being has become one of those topics, and not just recently, but over the years, where there is so much controversy. And then people almost become a little bit paralyzed because there are options, and there's a Western medicine approach which almost drives us from a little bit of a fear-based foundation as to if you don't do this, you're irresponsible. And then there's also the other extreme, which is sometimes quite ignorant of the physiology and how things work in the body. And then, there are people who try and find something in between that will be a sensible and a responsible approach. But if I may just ask you, so for me as a health practitioner, I'm a little bit, I would say, anti a purely Western medicine approach, because I do feel that it ignores all the various components. So there's physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And of course, we are made up of all these different elements. So regardless of the diagnosis, whether it's an eczema or a headache, or whether it's something as as big as a cancer diagnosis, how would you say one should start when you are faced with a big diagnosis like that?
That's a very good question. I think the biggest wake-up call for me, or should I say not so much wake-up call, but what was really highlighted to me is that we're on our own journey. You know, yes, to be absolutely, totally flawed with the diagnosis. But when I found myself having a quiet moment, I thought, isn't it funny? Because this is really highlighting that this is my journey. Like, I can make decisions now with the help and the advice of doctors and oncologists and my family and my friends. But at the end of the day, what I decide is for me. The outcome is mine. And I think that was so clear. I want to say clear and frightening, because whatever I decide, I had to play it out for me. And I think that's really one of the highlights of what I share, is that we make choices every day. And I think a lot of the time they are influenced by others, and also very much around fear. And it's to take a moment and ask yourself, am I making the right choice for me? I had stage 3 colon cancer, and I was bullied. I want to say bullied, because I felt so fearful. You know, the first thing you think of is, I'm going to die. And that is a terrifying thought. You know, it's almost, you feel desperate, because it's not just about you anymore. It's about your children and your husband and your friends. And, you know, it's overwhelming. So to step back from that fear and go, okay, what now? One of the things I believe that I did well was that I didn't see it as a punishment. I thought, okay, I've got to learn from this. This is happening to me. Now, what can I do to help myself? Let's block out all the noise, block out all the fear. What is going to work for me? And the funny thing is that my body, one, I'm so grateful it gave me a sign that I was actually sick, because I had no idea. And two, every time I was told, you've got to have chemo and you've got to have it now, and, you know, we need to book your appointments, the hairs on my arms would stand up. And I believe that was definitely my body saying, chemo is not for you. And on top of that, for many, many years, I have approached illness with more of a holistic than a Western view. So, you know, antibiotics, not something we have willy-nilly in this house, unless there, you know, obviously there's a place for it. But so I thought, yeah, nice, Evelyn, now you have to practice what you preach, because now it's really on the wire. So now to all of a sudden go from this sort of holistic, alternate mindset to one where, you know, chemotherapy is going to do it for me, I really started to question, and I listened to my body, and I'm so glad I did, because I made a choice that was right for me. Might not be the right one for you, you know, you may choose chemo. As long as I believe, as long as you're making a choice that gives you hope for the future. Yeah, there's so much. I feel like I could get serious verbal diarrhea, so I will take a pause.
There is so much, and I think in that, I mean, there's so much in what you said, and that I know is relevant, not just for my own personal health journey as well, but for many of the clients that I see and speak to. And what strikes me, and I think what we also want to get across when we have our long conversation on the 1st of August, is that people often see this as an either or. And unfortunately, Western medicine sort of doesn't encourage people to look at the or, to say, you know, it's chemo and nothing else. You can't then bring in anything else. Almost, I know many oncologists or clients I've seen who have gone for the chemotherapy, when oncologists would say it doesn't matter what you eat. You know, we know it matters what you eat. It doesn't matter what else you're doing. And so perhaps, you know, what we're trying to also have a conversation about is that there are so many options. There are so many things to consider. And perhaps the biggest mistake people make is to think it's an either or, where you would exclude or not consider so many of the other opportunities to review your well-being, like your thoughts, you know, your emotions, your spiritual well-being. Like if you're going to just ignore all of those things, then even if you drink organic green juices, you know, every day of the week for the next 5 years is not going to be enough. And you know, I think that's the kind of message that we want to get across, is that there's so much to consider, and sometimes you've got to just tune back in. It's so easy to get distracted these days. You know, there's so much noise. There's so much. Everyone is so busy with so many things. And something else that I would really like to touch on, because I know it is such a big priority. Well, for me, my body tells me straight away when something is not in alignment with keeping a harmonious state. But many of my clients say to me, how do you know? Like, how does your body tell you when something? I think that the more you sort of clean up, you know, using non-toxic detergents, for example, in the home, using less prescription medications, the more my body became very sensitive to these kind of things. But would you say that it is important for people just to, or how do you start to pay attention for those little warning signals that are perhaps little whispers early on?
I think it's that's quite a big question, because you could really go down a rabbit hole. There are so many choices out there. There's so many options. And of course, your choices, as I've said before, are what's best for you. So I found, first of all, I believe, number one, a positive attitude is going to get you extremely far, sounds such good English, much further, because this is such a powerful tap. And I think together with your gut, you know, what do you feel is the right thing for you? So, I mean, I had so much information flown at me. I had so much flung at me, actually. I had so many people who were giving me their ideas and their advice. And what I would do is when somebody said something, or I read about it, or my husband, he just went, you know, he Googled the healthy side of it, you know, what can we do? Whatever resonated with me, I did. So things like I drank celery juice, and every now and again I had a beetroot juice, and I took supplements. But saying that, I think it's also it's wise to be mindful of not doing too much, because at the end of the day, we want to keep our minds positive. And if you start to get out of control with, as you say, I must drink green juice, I must do this, I must do that, it tends, I feel that it starts to drive you back down the fear path. So choose what resonates with you. You know, your body, you can drink celery juice every day, and then on the Saturday you wake up and you think, I can't drink celery juice. Don't drink celery juice. Your body's had enough. You know, and maybe by the Tuesday you want to drink more. I'm just using celery juice as an example. There are very many. So that way you listen instead of saying, oh no, I must. It's almost like your body is saying, okay, no, we've done enough celery juice. Maybe let's try something else today. I think there are certainly with me, I would start to get a sore tummy. So I love red meat. Also not very good for cancer, but my body started to tell me, you know, sore tummy, I wake up in the night, and I thought, okay, it's time to cut back. So I did. Sugar. Sugar is also a no-no for cancer. And funny that even if I had a tin of, let's say, chickpeas, and I could start to taste the sugar and then wouldn't be able to eat the chickpeas. And I thought, that's my body actually telling me. Now I read labels because I know sugar for me is a no-go. Having said that, I still love chocolate. But yeah, so I think it's listening to those little signs like a tummy ache. You know, I'm sure you get a lot of people saying, oh, I've eaten too much bread, I'm bloated. You know, your body's telling you it doesn't like gluten or whatever the example is. So they're not big signs, but if you just, it's again, just finding a bit of stillness and going, okay, I've eaten something that my body doesn't like. Let's have a look what it is and cut it out. So I hope that helps. Does that sort of answer the question that you have?
I think, you know, I think many people are going to have many questions, and I'm not sure even that an hour will be long enough for us on the first. But you know, for those of you who have a little nudge or little whisper that something is wrong, pay attention.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I was also trying to say, is that people don't like the discomfort of acknowledging a symptom or an emotion. We've become real experts at suppressing stuff because there's so many other things that are at the top of the list. And it's not necessarily a gender thing, but women are very good at ignoring their body's call for help.
Yeah.
And we don't have to wait until we have a diagnosis that could be really intimidating for so many people. We've got to just start paying attention to those little whispers and those little nudges, and making quiet time and getting out of that fight or flight mode that most people spend a big part of their day in, will get you to become more in tune with your body and what he or she is trying to tell you. But we will go into a lot more detail from your personal story and from the questions and the suggestions I have. So look out for our notices on our social media, etc., for our call that we will do, a conversation between Evelyn and myself, Emma Mentel, on the 1st of August, looking at the holistic approach to something as scary as it can be for Evelyn and where she's at. So I look forward to continuing with this conversation. Thank you so much for joining me, Evelyn.
Pleasure. Thank you. I look forward to the first.
We will upload this conversation on our social media, and we will see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Emma.